Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we are going to discuss the Age of Chaucer. Today I will discuss about the successors of the Chaucer and about the Age of Chaucer and contemporaries of the Chaucer. We know that in medieval ages, in early medieval ages, church was dominant, king was dominant, and it was the time of elite. This is why the literature was written only for the elite class. Literature was written for the church. Literature was written for the princes, prince, knights, because it was the time of elite. Some romances were written, some prose were written, some prose books were written, some other literature was written only for the elite class. But in the age of Chaucer, Chaucer did different. In early ages, the literature was written for the elites. The common people could not read this because the common people did not know sophistication, refinement, style, and even they did not know the refinement of culture. But if we discuss the age of Chaucer, Chaucer wrote for the common people. Chaucer wrote for the low classes. Chaucer wrote for the low classes because Chaucer was peasant and Chaucer's father was peasant and Chaucer was the son of peasant, and he had sympathy in his heart for the lower classes. Because Chaucer was a peasant and he had love, he had sympathy, he had pity for the lower classes. Chaucer's father was the seller of wine and he had an inn, and Chaucer sit in his inn and he talks with the peasants, and when he talked with the peasants, his relations, his sympathies, and he had a great relation with the common people. And we know that Chaucer was a humorous poet. He was a very different type of the poet. Chaucer made the English nation, because before the Chaucer there were no piece of literature. We did not find literature, English literature, before the Chaucer. Chaucer was the first person who wrote in English. He was the first English poet. We can say that Chaucer is the first English poet. Before Chaucer, English literature was not available, and Chaucer did it. He wrote in the medium of English, and there were 4 dialects in the time of Chaucer, which was very popular. But Chaucer chosen the East Midland dialect, because this dialect was very popular, and this is why Chaucer chose East Midland dialect, and his poetry is in East Midland dialect. And when the Chaucer first time wrote in the language of English, then the common people read it, because they could not read the sophistication style. They could not read the literature which was present in the early medieval ages, because they did not have style, refinement, sophistication, and they did not have the qualities of the language. This is why the literature was not present for the common people, and the Chaucer was the first person who gave the literature. This is why when the people read the literature, common people when read the literature, then we know that literature makes the mind. Literature makes a nation. When you read literature, when you are going to make your mind. And first time in the history, Chaucer did it. For example, Allama Iqbal wrote a great literature, and he made the nation in India. He told that we are independent nation because we are Muslim. We can't admit the slavery, because in our ancestor we have Tipu Sultan, Muhammad bin Qasim, Sultan Salahuddin Ayyubi, and Muhammad bin Qasim. And the message of the Iqbal was universal. Literature makes the nation, and Chaucer did it. His literature made the English nation. Chaucer was a great poet. He made the English language smooth and sappiness, and it credit goes to the Chaucer. And if we discuss the contemporaries of the Chaucer, we had William Langland, we had we have William Langland, and we have John Gower. We have William Langland and we have John Gower. John Gower and William Langland. If we first we discuss the poet like William Langland. Langland was a great poet. William Langland criticized the system of the Europe. William Langland criticized the church. William Langland wrote Piers Plowman, and it was very great poem. William Langland said that church is corrupt. William Langland said that church is corrupt. And he also criticized the monarchy, king, princes, knights, and it did this great poet. And John Gower wrote the book. John Gower wrote Confessio Mentis. It was a great poem, and he also criticized the church and elite. He was also a great poet. They did it. They criticized the church and elite. They criticized the corruption, oppression of this time. Chaucer, actually Chaucer was a socialist. Chaucer was reformist. Chaucer was a transitional poet. Chaucer actually, Chaucer is the father of English, because Chaucer summarizes and Chaucer sum up the medieval ages, and in the other hand he also gave the positive signal to science, to Renaissance, rationality, logicality, and reason. Chaucer gave the positive signal to rationality, logicality, reason, science, Renaissance, because he was uplooking. He was a great poet, and he was looking in the future. Chaucer knew it, that the time which is coming, it is the time of science. It is the time of reason. It is the time of logicality. It is the time of rationality. It was a great quality of this great poet. He sum up the life, the old life, the medieval life, classical time, and even he invites the future. And Chaucer also shows the picture of the society. It is a very different quality of Chaucer. Chaucer gave the picture of this time. If we discuss the Canterbury Tale, we know that the character wife of Bath is the great example. It is the great example of his great writing. Wife of Bath is a great character. Monk, Reeve, wife of Bath, and other characters. They are giving the picture of this age, and Chaucer did it. This is why we can say that Chaucer is chronicler, Chaucer is historian, Chaucer is socialist, and Chaucer had these all qualities. And if we discuss the successor of the Chaucer, if we discuss the successor of Chaucer's, we find two groups. One is the Scottish Chaucerian. Scottish Chaucerian mean the people who were living in Scotland. Scotland is the part of England, and the people who are living in Scotland, they are Scottish. First, we discuss the Scottish Chaucerian, the successor of Chaucer. After the Chaucer, they copied Chaucer. First, I would like to discuss Given Douglas. It is a great name, Given Douglas. Given Douglas was a great poet, and he wrote Palace of Honor. It is a great poem, Palace of Honor, and in this poem he discusses about the honor. He says that honor is necessary for the people. For example, wife honor, daughter honor, mother honor, brother honor. Honor is a great. Without honor, you can't survive. For example, Tipu Sultan said, "One day life of lion is better than the 100 years life of a jackal." Tipu Sultan giving the example of lion, because lion is a symbol of king. Lion is a symbol of honor. Lion is a symbol of courage. And according to the Tipu Sultan, honor, without honor, nothing. It is the message of Tipu Sultan. Life is beautiful with honor. Without honor, life is ugly. It is the message of Tipu. And Given Douglas wrote Palace of Honor, and it was a great message. The other is Robert Henryson. Robert Henryson wrote a great poem. He wrote moral fable of Aesop, and moral fable of Aesop. They were short stories, and this poet uh, translated this in English. Moral fable of Aesop was moral fable of Aesop were translated by this great poet, by the Henryson, and these were short stories. Robert Henryson translated moral fable of Aesop, but moral fable of Aesop were for the queen. In these short stories, the poet wanted to tell the queen how you can rule. Moral fable of Aesop are giving the instruction to the queen how you can rule, and it was a great message. And the third one, which is the successor of the Chaucer, is William Dunbar. William Dunbar. William Dunbar wrote Thistle and the Rose. Thistle and the Rose. Thistle, thorn and rose. Thistle, thorn and rose. And it was a great poet, and it was the successor of the Chaucer, and he wrote Thistle and the Rose. So Thistle and the Rose, thorn and the rose. So antithetical and inimical to each other, but at so time coexisting. At this time coexisting. If you will find thorn, if you will find rose amidst thorn, two together in a way is the symbols of life. Two together in a way symbolize life. And in the age of Chaucer and after the Chaucer, even in the age of John Keats, it was a very famous subject, which is beauty and truth. In the age of Chaucer, poet wrote about the beauty and truth, and even in the age of John Keats, poets wrote about the beauty and truth. Even John Keats wrote about the beauty and truth. He says beauty is truth, truth beauty. And we will discuss another successor of Chaucer, David Lindsay. David Lindsay. He is also a great poet. But all these poets copied Chaucer because they were successor of the Chaucer. And we can find some other successors of Chaucer who were in England. John Lydgate. John Lydgate. It was a great poet, and he wrote very different. He wrote Falls of Princes. Falls of Princes. Falls of Princes is a great piece of literature. He says a king rules, and everything is in the hand of a king. He is ruling, he is governing, but what come after some time? What is the end of a king? What is the end of a king? King was murdered. King was killed. And it is the end of a king. First, he is ruling, he is governing, and now this time king was murdered, and it is the reality of a king. Even Shakespeare wrote about this. He wrote a tragedy and it was he was a great poet, and he wrote different tragedies about this subject. He wrote different tragedies on these subjects. He wrote a tragedy, Richard II, and it was a great tragedy. This poet tried to clear the concept, what is the end of a king? King was murdered, and it is a great work of John Lydgate, Falls of Princes. Thomas Heathcliff, it is also the successor of Chaucer. He wrote Regent of Princes, and he says, I did not know anything. My father, my guru Chaucer told me. He said in a very open manner that I did not know. Chaucer told me about the writing, about the poetry, about the literature, because in his opinion Chaucer is his guru, his father. And Thomas Heathcliff did it. Alexander Berkeley, he wrote Ship of Palace, and he said that all the world is a ship, and all the characters he shows in this ship. He talked about the politics, he talked about the church, he talked about the common people, and he wrote a poem, and he was a great poet, he was a great writer. He wrote this poem, Ship of Falls. And these were the successor of Chaucer. And no, I discuss a poet who is a very great and marvelous poet. His name is John Skeleton. He has a great contribution in English literature, in English literature history. And he was neither Chaucerian nor Petrarch, because in these days people were the followers of Chaucer. The people were followers of rather Chaucer or Petrarch, because John Skeleton came after the Chaucer. He was born in 1460, and he came after the Chaucer. In these days, Petrarch was very popular. Petrarch is the pioneer of new poetry. Petrarch is the pioneer of Renaissance. Petrarch was the poet of Italy. And Petrarch first time wrote in the style of sonnet. Shakespeare, Sidney, Christopher Marlowe, these were sonnetiers. They follow Petrarch, and Petrarch was a great poet. John Skeleton did different, because it was the time of Henry VIII, and we know that in these days church was very strong. Church was corrupt and strong. Henry VIII wanted to divorce his wife, but the church said no, you can't do it. But in the response, Henry VIII said, no problem. He says, no problem, I will have a new church. And how the Anglican Church came in front. He killed his wife. Even 3 wives were killed by the Henry VIII, because he wanted his successor. He wanted his son, but he was defeated by the fate, and he did not have a son. Henry VIII was the father of Queen Elizabeth, and we know that the age of Queen Elizabeth is a very great age. Queen Elizabeth made England rich. During this age, the Englishmen came in India, in Africa, and they explored the world. And John Skeleton, first time in the history, he did very different. Henry VIII had a minister. His name is John Wilsey. He was very strong minister. Even he was strong than the king. He held the head of politics, head of culture, head of religion. But John Skeleton spoke against him. He wrote a poem, Speak Parrot. He said that this minister is corrupt. He wrote against this minister. Even he wrote a poem, Why I come not in to the church, and it was a great satire on this minister. And even the John Skeleton have a great contribution in English writing, in English language. John Skeleton. He gave skeletonic meters, because his name is Skeleton. This is why skeletonic meter, clever, which is clever repetition of very short lines, sounding breathless. Very short lines, 2 and 3 words, and word coming one after other, and he did it, and it is his great contribution in English history. It was today my lecture. Inshallah, in my next lecture we will discuss about the Elizabethan age. Allah Hafiz.